Hey everyone, day 5 of the Tom Holland-a-thon, and today I will be watching Captain America Civil War. Now, some of you might be wondering, have you seen all the other Marvel films? And the answer is yes. I've seen every single MCU film, including the newest one at the time I'm filming this. So I'm ready to watch Civil War. There's not like some backstory I need to refresh or anything. Civil War was my favorite MCU film for a long time. I think until I saw Infinity War. After I saw Infinity War, it went to second place, but then some things changed around. I started really appreciating Thor Ragnarok, and obviously Endgame came out. I've also grown to appreciate Ant-Man a lot more, so those films might be a bit higher than Civil War right now, but it's still a great movie, and I think it probably has my second favorite fight scene in all of the MCU. Now, this won't come as a surprise, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man is why I chose to do this marathon. I think he's really good as Spider-Man, and I think he's a really good Spider-Man. He isn't in this film that much, and it's a long film. I think it's like 2.5 hours for only a half hour of Tom Holland, but you know, I'm just going to watch it. I'm just going to let it happen. I think it probably still will be enjoyable to watch it, even though I've seen it quite recently. But I didn't focus on Tom Holland back then, so yeah, I'm going to watch it again. And I will let you know if it was still enjoyable or if it just felt really boring and repetitive after I've seen the film. I'm back! It's been a while since I filmed my pre-thoughts for this video, so I don't remember if I said this already, but I wasn't really looking forward to watching this film again. I had seen it quite recently, and the last time I didn't get as much enjoyment out of it as the first couple of times I watched this film. Anyway, Captain America Civil War is about the Avengers who are at last being held accountable for their actions in New York, Sokovia, and a recent disaster in Nigeria. Basically, the government wants them to work under their supervision, and some of the Avengers wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment, but others don't. And that causes a schism within the Avengers, which eventually leads to a civil war. I get the title now! Oh, and there's also a plot with the Winter Soldier who's back, and yeah, Captain America wanting to help him and being brainwashed, and it's quite complicated. As I said, I think, in my pre-thoughts, this was my favorite Marvel film for a long time. However, upon rewatching it, I realized that it doesn't have that much rewatch value. The second time I ever watched it, there were a lot of details about the plot and the story that I didn't get or comprehend the first time round, so that was fun, but this was like my 5th time rewatching it, and it felt really long and a bit boring. There were some amazing action set pieces, and probably still my second favorite fight scene in the entire MCU, but there also was a lot of talking. Now, I don't mind a bit of talking. What they're talking about is actually very interesting. The first couple of times I watched this film, the talking was possibly even the best part of this film. But now that I know how everything will turn out, not just the end of this film, but how everything will turn out in Infinity War and Endgame and even after that, this just didn't feel as interesting or urgent or important even. The fight choreography was great. That's probably the best thing about this film. The airport fight scene is still my second favorite fight scene in the entire MCU, only beaten by another fight scene that we'll get into in the Tom Holland-a-thon. So I won't spoil what it is. The part where Ant-Man grows huge is still probably my favorite little moment in the entire MCU. I don't know. It's great. But apart from Ant-Man, Spider-Man is the real show stealer in that fight scene. He's funny, he's endearing, he's everything. I still remember when the trailer came out and everyone lost their mind because Spider-Man was in it. By the way, in the trailer, Spider-Man steals the shield and then he says, "Hey everyone," and that's my intro to these videos. I don't know if that was that obvious. It's not as obvious as "Hello there" for Ewan McGregor or "Bonjour" for Emma Watson, but anyway, speaking about Tom Holland, this is obviously the film that kind of put him on the radar, which is ironic because from the 5 films that I've seen about Tom Holland, this is probably the second one he's in the least. He plays the lead role or a very important side character in almost all of his films, apart from this one and Locke. But on the other hand, this film was more popular and a lot bigger than his other films, so I guess it still makes sense. When I first saw him in Queens, I thought he didn't really look like Tom Holland. And I couldn't exactly put my finger on it, but now I think it's the hair. It looks much straighter than usual. And I think that also changes in later MCU films. I think his hair does get a little bit more curlier. Wow, more curlier? Great English, great. But I'm not sure if that's true, so I guess we'll just go ahead and see. I didn't catch how old Peter Parker was supposed to be in this film, but my mind said 15. Some weird memory said it was supposed to be 15. And the internet seems to confirm that, so let's just assume that he's 15. So if we continue my little statistic, that means Tom Holland has played a 12-year-old when he was 16-year-old, a 14-year-old when he was 17 years old, a 14-year-old when he was 19 years old, and now a 15-year-old when he was 20 years old. Interesting, right? All in all, I am giving Captain America Civil War an 8 out of 10. I think I didn't enjoy it enough to give it an 8, but I think it's unfair towards the film that I give it a lower score because it's been too recent that I last saw this film. It's still a good film. Like, it's a really good film. It deserves an 8. Next time, I am going to watch Edge of Winter, so do join me for that, and I will see you then. Goodbye.